What's up, kids? What's up, boys and girls? It's Shanghai Pete from Degreelessness, and I'm here again. Well, you know why I'm here again, because your lives are sorely lacking in some much-needed problematic toxicity. And to that end, today, we're going to be talking about the World of Warcraft cash shop and those fucking mounts that they sell. So this week, Blizzard dropped yet another cash shop mount for World of Warcraft, and as usual, people are freaking the fuck out. This went down pretty much the same way it always does and followed the same predictable pattern that these things usually do. If you're not familiar with what that is, I'll break it down for you real quick. Blizzard's store mounts typically always fit a few certain criteria. The first one you'll notice is that they look infinitely better than any other mount available in the game and obtainable via normal means, meaning you need to actually play the game to get it. The models also almost always use a brand new rig as well instead of the previous existing ones that all regular mounts use, and they often feature fancy particle effects and hyper-detailed textures. Now, if you're wondering whether or not you're looking at a cash shop mount, here's a quick guide to help. Ask yourself, does it look far more detailed and obviously much cooler than the majority of other mounts around it? If the answer is yes, the odds are good that you're looking at a cash shop product. This is how you're rewarded if you give Blizzard more money, whereas all the other mounts around you that in comparison seem, a little pedestrian and like they obviously had less development time put into them are how you're rewarded for in-game accomplishments. This is quite an interesting precedent to set, Blizzard. Furthermore, cash shop mounts are known to show up suspiciously near significant annual financial milestones or the release dates of competitors' games. In this case, the timing fell conveniently just 2 days before the end of Quarter 2 and right around the release of Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion. As if all this nonsense wasn't scummy enough, the release of these products also seemed to curiously coincide with other events of a dubious nature. Last time they pulled this, it was right after the community was super hyped from a world first kill, and right before an upcoming content drop. It was right around then that Blizzard swooped in and offered you a brand new fancy mount if you subscribed for another 6 months. And you better hurry, it's only available for a limited time, buy now. That, of course, was proven to be a lie when it, predictably, returned to the cash shop just a few months later. Now, why do you suppose they did that? Lastly, the final piece of the cash shop mount formula is the inevitable backlash, first from Blizzard's normal customers who are understandably upset at being so shamelessly exploited. Predictably, though, this is, of course, followed shortly by the backlash to the backlash, a really super fun new thing that everybody's been doing these days. This is where you'll see Blizzard shills and cockslaves take a moment to look up and briefly remove Blizzard's dick from their mouths so they can shriek and race to the defense of their favorite innocent and vulnerable corporate overlords. Clearly we've got a lot to discuss, so let's chop it up. There are two sides to this issue, as there often are. On one side, you have reasonable people who are rightfully concerned about products they've purchased being ruined by blatant anti-consumer practices implemented by a soulless corporation in their blind, ravenous pursuit of avarice. On the other, you have fucking idiots. These are your shameless corporate apologists and sycophants. And if you're not sure what I'm referring to, just Google gaming blog and look at any of the top results. Don't say I didn't warn you though, it's a horror show. Actually on second thought, don't do that. Don't ever do that. Never mind, forget I said that. Obviously, as a consumer of relatively sound mind, I say, fuck Blizzard. The latter group, on the other hand, are more likely to say, oh Blizzard, please, fuck me. The first thing you'll usually see from anyone suffering from such a severe lack of self-respect that they're actually defending a corporation is an insistence that it's just cosmetic and that you won't have to purchase it. While that's just as shallow a defense when used here as it is when it's trod out in defense of any other game's microtransactions, it doesn't really matter either way because it has nothing to do with why I have such a problem with this shit. Yes, you don't have to buy it. That's true. And yes, it's also just cosmetic and doesn't technically affect the gameplay. Also true. Unless, of course, you count people shaming you by spitting on you and booting you from pugs. I'm not claiming anything to the contrary. The people who say it's only cosmetic and not a mandatory purchase are totally correct. However, that doesn't mean shit like this isn't fucking horrible for gaming and that you shouldn't feel bad about yourself for supporting it. Do I personally care if I see your dumb ass rolling around with that ridiculous mount? Aside from the first moment when I catch sight of you and I throw up in my mouth a little bit, fuck no. If you're not in my guild, I'm not playing with you anyway, and I couldn't give a fuck about what you're doing. And yes, I know you can purchase it with gold too. Again, this is irrelevant. This is not about money. Indirectly it is, sure. Blizzard, like any other business, is trying to make money. But That's not my concern. The concern here, and with microtransactions in general, for those of you who have been following along, is with how they're making that money, and more importantly, what effect those methods have on their product. That's what I'm worried about. I couldn't give a fuck what kinds of microtransactions are forced into any game if it had no noticeable effect on the game itself, and I mean really no noticeable effect on the game itself. Shit, knock yourself out. Sell all the digital non-things you want. I don't care, I'm never gonna buy them, but the moment the game you're selling me is changed or compromised in any way to support that shit, then we have a problem. And unfortunately, that's the issue with these mounts and the WoW cash shop in general. How do you suppose microtransactions like this kind of shit became so ubiquitous? And I don't mean what were the exact psychological manipulation techniques used to implement them. I'm talking way more basic. Sure, in general, people are fucking stupid and easily manipulated, quickly falling prey to the kind of meticulously researched and well-funded methods used to create this type of business model. But that doesn't work on everyone, no. The only way this business model not only survives, but thrives to the absurdist extent that it has, is because there is a real demand for it. And when there's a demand, there will always be a supply. So first, let's be clear about something. There are people caught up in this who are legitimately predisposed to having problems with this kind of stuff. I mean, these are people with super addictive personalities who may have issues with drug addiction, drinking, gambling, that kind of stuff. These people, I cannot blame for getting fucked. Right? I feel for them more than anything else. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent to figure out exactly how to scientifically prey upon them as ruthlessly as possible. I'm not talking about these people. As far as I'm concerned, they're unwilling accessories to this, casualties. But the rest of you have no excuse. So yes, there are definitely a lot of those type of people that get hooked into this, but certainly not enough to build an entire new revenue stream from, not one that's big enough and lucrative enough to make it worth totally restructuring the entire business model of the video game industry. No, a project of that size requires willing participants. People who say, ooh, what a cute sparkle horse, what's 20 bucks? Or, fuck it, I'll spend $1 on a red dot, who cares? It's these people that sustain the demand for this stuff, not the genuine addicts or so-called whales. I mean, sure, they help, but that's not what the microtransaction model was built on, and it's not what makes it as successful as it is today. It was the regular people whose random casual purchases and engagement created a large enough demand to sustain a paradigm shift in the industry. It pushed the microtransaction model into the mainstream and widespread acceptance. And that's exactly what you're contributing to when you decide to buy some garbage like a cash shop mount. So once they've created demand, the only thing needed to sustain it is a supply. And no AAA developer is going to have any trouble with that. They'll take shit you used to get for free just by playing the game and slap a price tag on it. Sound familiar? How's your fancy horse? Or they'll just remove what otherwise would have been a basic feature and then put it behind a paywall. They'll even charge you for beta access. I don't give a fuck. People won't say dick. They'll just gobble it up. No problem. Think I'm wrong? Every downvote this video gets is all the proof you need that I'm right. Who's clicking that downvote? Not you, the sane, normal person who sees the danger posed by the continued casual acceptance of this and isn't threatened by me merely pointing it out. It's the casual purchasers already brainwashed, defending their choices because they don't want to believe the alternative. Doesn't matter if you're buying it with gold converted to a WoW token or with a PayPal account, your Battle.net balance, or your credit card. Engagement is engagement. When it gets down to the ones and zeros, it's all the same. The only thing that matters are whether or not you are engaging with a promotion. I mean, just ask YouTube. YouTube doesn't give a fuck whether you clicked a like or dislike. I doubt it even records that. All it cares about is that you have engaged with a video. That's all the data they need to continue to optimize and teach their algorithm. In the same way, seeing how many people are willing to swallow the cash shop shit they're being fed is the only thing Blizzard needs to know in order to continue shoveling it. They don't care how you pay for the shit, only that you want to eat it, and so they'll keep feeding it to you. Only by you, I mean us, the rest of the World of Warcraft community that has no interest in shit and is still negatively affected by Blizzard's continued insistence on creating shit and modifying the game in order to better sell it to us. One of the ways they do that is by ensuring that multiple gameplay systems, reward loops, and even content release schedules steer people closer to that cash shop. Every time you say, sure Blizzard, I'll pay for that mount, or I'll buy that pet, what they hear is, please continue to put stuff in the cash shop, we'll buy it. Please continue to trick us into committing to paying for your game for months without a guarantee of new content, we'll accept it. Please continue designing the game around the ability to pay for level boosts, we don't care. If there are enough particle effects and polygons, we'll eat as much shit as you can shovel in our mouths. In short, with every cat shop purchase, I don't care what it is or how you pay for it, what you're telling them is, This is working. Please keep doing it. They have even publicly said to community figures like Bellular that they would prefer that he not measure the game's success in subscriber numbers. So if not that, then what? Cash shop transactions perhaps? And as long as there are people out there telling Blizzard, yes, keep doing this and creating the demand, they will never stop creating the supply. In fact, it will only get worse. Remember, we didn't go from no microtransactions to what we have now overnight. Started small. You all remember everyone's favorite horse armor, right? Okay, so not a big deal. It was just $2. But they saw people would put up with it, so they pushed harder. And they kept pushing. And people kept accepting it until we got to where we're at now. Unskippable ads in NBA 2K, a $60 game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey having been designed to be so insufferable so as to get you to pay money for experience boosts so you could skip parts of it. Think about that. They actually designed the game intentionally to make you want to pay them to not play it. It's really genius on a certain level. Evil genius of the worst kind, I'm sure, but genius nonetheless. Hell, they even have the audacity to demand full price for a game that isn't even done, and then tell you to shell out more money if you want them to finish it. Like, how fucking insane is that? Yet, you still have people out here defending this horrific practice, making excuses for the inexcusable, shit-talking their fellow gamers, or even writing entire articles to smear them simply for having the gall to say, hey wait, I don't want to pay for a game that isn't finished, maybe fuck you instead. So the next time you see a cash shop mount and think, fuck it, looks cool, or it's just a coincidence that they're selling this for a 6-month sub when we're looking at a content drought coming up, or even when you whine about how toxic I am because I say you shouldn't buy that shit, I want you to think about your boy the horse armor. Think about his journey. He's come a long way. He didn't get enough pushback, so he evolved into the Creation Club and paid mods. Too many people bought that trash, so we eventually got Fallout 76, a game that even now, 8 months after demanding people pay full price for it, still isn't finished. FIFA led to NBA 2K19. Think about Team Fortress 2 or Counter-Strike. That led to the disaster that was Battlefront 2, in addition to infecting the Call of Duty franchise. But it didn't stop there. Before you know it, we got Battlefield 5 and the toilet feast as Black Ops 4. They were so convinced they'd make a fortune on the microtransactions, they axed the entire single-player campaign, and they weren't wrong. Then there was Destiny, then The Division, and then Anthem. What about Overwatch? How many potentially great games have been scrapped, cannibalized, or otherwise put on hold to ensure the continuation of that brand in its upcoming sequel? That we know about. No one knows for sure, of course, but I'd be willing to bet the total number of casualties would be way lower if those loot boxes hadn't sold so well. Diablo 3 barely survived its brief dalliance with the Real Money Auction House. But reports of its brush with death must have been gravely exaggerated, because then instead of a second expansion or Diablo 4, we got Diablo Immortal, a cheap, reskinned, pay-to-win mobile-only game intended primarily for China. We're still waiting on that Diablo 4 announcement, Blizzard. Don't you get it? On a long enough timeline, the road of every microtransaction that we accept leads to the same place. So, how long till we add World of Warcraft to that list? Fuck, bitch, it's on there already, you stupid fuck. Did you learn anything? And just as a way of wrapping things up, I want to mention real quick that you should know that I didn't do any research, like whatsoever, before I made this video. So anything that could possibly be perceived as being the presentation of a fact may actually not be a fact at all. I just feel like it's true, because facts don't care about your feelings, bitch. Anyway, so that about wraps it up for today, everybody. Thanks for sticking it out with us. Those of you who did, we love you today. We love you all the way. And also, just as a last minute thing, remember, don't like, don't comment, and don't bother subscribing, because the odds are pretty good that I'll have hanged myself before I get around to making another stupid YouTube video. Hang myself? Is it hanged? Or is it hung? Odds are good I will have hung myself. I don't know, it doesn't sound right either. Yeah, whatever, fuck it.